Hello.
Then. Now.
Countdown to the queens.
Episode number 500.
Forever.
Looks like hell froze over.
Without any more further ado,
Together.
let's jump straight into the show. Hello and welcome to episode number, I think it's 122 of the TEW IX Challenge Run. We're here for Raw for March the 17th, 2025. Raw's first stop on the European tour. We are here in Brussels, Belgium. Well, in-game we're not. We're in Ghent for some reason. Brussels doesn't exist as a city in this mod. I think it's a mod thing. It's either a mod thing or a TEW game thing, but I think it's a mod thing, yeah. For some reason, Brussels doesn't exist. They've got Belgian cities in here, but they don't have fucking Brussels. So why even bother having Belgian cities in the first place if you don't have the fucking capital and biggest city in Belgium? Anyway, so yes, the game will say we're in Ghent, but we're not. We're in Brussels. Ignore it. But yes, we do have a loaded show tonight to kick off the European tour, including a stacked main event. Bronson Steiner against the Royal Rumble winner Seth Rollins, just weeks away from Seth Rollins' main event of WrestleMania against CM Punk for the WWE Championship. He's going to take on the muscle of the Antidote tonight in the main event. Plus John Cena with an open challenge. Plus Game 3 of the World Tag Team Championship fiasco. LA Knight will be in action. And we're going to hear from Lyra Valkyria following the ending of last week's episode of Raw in Madison Square Garden, which was very noble and very newsworthy. So yes, without any more further ado, let's jump straight into the show. We kick off the show with Lyra in the ring. You know, all the top stars have got on Raw, and the first Raw of the international tour, the European tour, kicks off with Lyra of all people in the ring by herself. And I was gonna do the sitting on the chair in the dark promo, but I do them all the time, so it's just Lyra. She comes out by herself, just in her normal clothes, and she's getting booed. Belgium big fans of Becky Stardust. They're chanting "Shut the fuck up" at Lyra, and Lyra sort of just takes it all on the chin. She goes, I expected that sort of reaction here because Brussels, I know you're waiting for your hero to swoop in and save the day, but the fact of the matter is, that's not going to happen. Because last week was the final straw. Last week, I did what I needed to do to get ahead in this industry. I did what I needed to do to find my own identity and carve my way in this industry. Since I've been under Becky's shadow, I've been given no respect. I'm barely even my own person. I'm right, okay? I know you don't like it because you've grown to love Becky and you've grown to take Becky Stardust on and, humor her weird little crisis she's got going on here, but I'm in the right. I spent my entire life training to get to WWE because it was my dream. And when I finally get here, all I heard since day one when I stepped through the door is, there's another Irish girl. We don't need another Becky. We've got Becky already. Becky this, Becky that, Becky. What about Becky? Okay? I'm not Becky. And I proved that last week when I laid Becky out in her own celebration of life she was hosting, in her latest ego trip to pat herself on the back and claim she's the greatest of all time. That felt like the right time to finally get it done. But this past week, all I've heard is, why Lyra did you attack your hero last week? It's because I'm sick and tired of being disrespected. You overlooked it all again because you love Becky, but Becky was treating me like garbage. Carrying around, I was a women's tag team champion in this company for 4 months. I don't even know if my name's in the record books because Becky carried both the championship around and Becky said she was defending the championships all by herself. I put up with that. I put up with that because I told myself, and more importantly, other people told me that I should be lucky to be under Becky's shadow. Well, I'm not. Okay, I don't even like Becky, I was a Sasha Banks girl growing up, but because I was Irish, they put me in with Becky and said that I've got to be Becky's subordinate. None of you would get it, okay? You've never met your heroes. You know, you in the front row there, you're wearing John Cena head to toe in John Cena merchandise. How would you like it if you met John Cena and he basically treated you like crap? How would you like it if your whole life you worked to get to WWE and they just told you that you're gonna just fail or only get ahead because, you know, you happen to be born on the same island as one of the biggest stars in the division? Well, no more. There's no more Bird Girl, all this talk. You know, I spent my entire career carving out an identity for myself and channeling the Morrigan inside me, and all of that got left aside, and I got known just as, you know, the funny Bird Girl, the girl who wears wings and comes to the ring with Becky. That's what I'd become. I've never been given any respect for myself or what I want to do. So, Becky Stardust, you know, the wings of the Morrigan, they flap when war and destiny and battle are nearby. I can't think of a more fitting time to finally be true to myself, Becky, because when you show your face around here again, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a war, because I will no longer be disrespected around here. I will be my own woman. A lot of you probably don't even know my name. You just know me as Bird Girl. Well, trust me. I'm going to make you remember the name Lyra Valkyria. That's when Killer Kelly comes out. He goes, Lyra, I'm glad to finally see you out here. You know, it's about time me and you had a chat. You know, last week, a couple of months ago, I was begging you to do what you did last week. I told you Becky didn't respect you. But over the time, you know, us, Becky and Billy, we became family. But that's not my issue, Lyra. I'd be a hypocrite if I said that you shouldn't have done what you did to Becky, because I was the one urging you on to do it all this time. My issue is last week you coming out here and Cora and Roxy admitting that they came into our locker room twice under your watch and laid me and Billy out to prove a point to Becky. And I think it's funny that we've been tag team partners and friends for longer than Becky has been in our lives. And you just reduced me to that? To being a pawn in your game to get one over on Becky? That's what you thought of my friendship? You let Cora and Roxy come in and attack me multiple times. You know, you never once told me that you were planning on it, betraying Becky. You just did it behind all of our backs and threw me into a fight that I frankly don't want to be a part of. Because Becky and I, you know, we're close now after initially having a rough start, but Lyra, for you to just discard your real friends like that, you're no better than Becky. You're worse than Becky. And Lyra goes, oh, shut up, Kelly. Okay, even you, the entire time we were tag team partners, were holding me back. Okay? And now, I've finally given Becky somebody that she can whip around and, you know, is happy to be there, teaming with Becky Lynch, while I go off and do my own thing, because I am nothing like Becky, okay? I couldn't be any more different to Becky. So, Kelly, I'm so sorry you feel betrayed, but how do you think I feel? So, if you don't want any part of this fight, I'm gonna leave right now. And if you don't want any part of this fight, you're not gonna follow me. And, Lyra rolls out the ring, crowd still booing her. Kelly sort of just stands in the ring awkwardly, and we follow Lyra to the back where Cora and Roxy are waiting in Gorilla. And, Lyra sort of looks upset. She's looking kind of remorseful for what she just did to Kelly. But, listen, Lyra, you said, you're above her. Okay, this is just the beginning of your career. Nobody will remember any of your times with Kelly or Becky once they're all done. We have your back. And then Cora, Roxy, and Lyra have a 3-way hug, and they all walk off together. So yeah. We then cut to Kathy Kelly. Says, ladies and gentlemen, my guest at this time, the 2025 Royal Rumble winner, Seth Rollins. And Seth comes in. Kelly says, Seth, tonight is a big main event here on Monday Night Raw, here in Brussels. You will go one-on-one with the Muscle, the hired gun of CM Punk, and the antidote, Bronson Steiner, a very dangerous competitor. And Seth goes, Kathy, I've stepped into the ring with a lot of dangerous competitors in my time in WWE, and Bronson Steiner, he's young, he's hungry, he's done 100% a future world champion here in WWE. But over the past few months, all he's become is CM Punk's boy. He's at CM Punk's beck and call whenever he needs him, to try and further his ego, because that's all CM Punk is on, is an ego trip. So Bronson Steiner, he's going to be a tough challenge tonight. But with WrestleMania on the horizon, I can't afford to get my foot off the gas, Kathy. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to roll through Bronson Steiner here in Belgium, and I'm going to roll straight into WrestleMania, and I'm going to become the WWE champion. Then Cody walks in. He goes, Seth, I know, again, you probably don't want to see me. You're probably sick of my face right about now, but, I warned you about CM Punk, and I, of all people, have personal experience dealing with the beast that is Bronson Steiner. You see, he is a very, very dangerous man, Seth, but I still think you might underestimate just how tough it is to go out there against a man like Bronson Steiner. Bronson Steiner back in Berlin embarrassed me. Bronson Steiner is the reason I'm not the WWE champion right now. And Seth, I've told you I've got your back tonight, but Bronson, he's going to have ABC watching his back. Punk's not here tonight, I'm going to worry about him. But he's going to have Ace Austin and Chris Bay watching his back, and I've spoken to some old friends of yours, and they agree that if you need them, they'll be there tonight. Seth's like, great, Cody, but I don't know if I need anyone. Cody just laughs and goes, again, I admire the bravery, Seth, but you're going to need some people. A-rated match to kick off the show. Yeah, finish. Probably fucked it over. So, this is... I'm going to leave the finish on the screen because the finish is exactly what you think it is. But I'll go over it. For Axiom, Path of the Dragon, Game 3 of the mini 3-match series to determine the number 1 contenders. Nathan Fraser beat Humberto. Akira Tozawa beat Axiom, so we're here for the 2 tag teams going at it, with the winners being the next number 1 contenders. And, for Axiom, they're going to get the job done. They hit their double team finisher on Humberto. They get the 2, and Tozawa breaks it up. So, the match rolls on. And then Tozawa flies in. He takes both men down. Nathan Fraser hops onto the apron. He flies in to take Tozawa down. Tozawa rolls out of the way, and the referee gets knocked out. And Nathan Fraser's like, oh, fuck. I've knocked the referee down, mate. That's not good. That's when Christian and the Patriarchy hop the barricade. And Christian goes onto the ring. He grabs a steel chair and he slides a steel chair in the ring. He goes, Nathan, opportunity's all yours. Hit him and win this. And Nathan Fraser does grab the steel chair and he sort of holds it in his hand. And Axiom's on the apron like, what the fuck you doing, Nathan? And he goes, but if I hit him, we can win and we can go to WrestleMania. And Axiom goes, Nathan. And he looks down at the steel chair. He sees Tozawa getting to his feet. And Nathan Fraser picks up the chair and he throws it at Christian, defying him, saying, no, I want to win this by myself. He hits, a move. He goes up top for the Phoenix Splash. Lexis King shoves him off the top rope. Ding, ding, ding. disqualification. And Path of the Dragon look angry at this as well, because what the fuck, they've just randomly cost them their shot at the championships. The Patriarchy come in and start laying waste to Phraxium, and Path of the Dragon make the save. It's 5-on-3, and the Patriarchy retreat up the ramp. That's when Bobby Roode comes out, and he goes, whoa, 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 I should have known something like this was going to happen, because you can't trust Christian as far as you can throw him. So what are we to do, okay? So Path of the Dragon didn't lose fair and square tonight. Phraxium technically won tonight, but I don't think anybody wanted to see this series end like that. And if we're going to keep doing these, we're going to keep going through these cycles of drama and interference and bullshittery to try and crown these number one contenders. And quite frankly, I've had enough of it. So, Christian, this is what you've set your beloved sons up for. Because they will defend the World Tag Team Championships against the winners of this match, Phraxium. And against Path of the Dragon. And they're not going to defend their championships next week. No, no, no. Phraxium and Path of the Dragon will both challenge the Patriarchy for the World Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania. Big pop. So there it is. The three-way is now set. Dominic and Lexis King defend against Phraxium and Path of the Dragon. World Tag Team Championship match. Now, we're announcing matches so far out. If this was real WWE, they wouldn't have announced this shit until like 10 days before the show. They'd have done it on Twitter. But the good part about me, booking things and having my card planned out for a long time is that I can set up matches earlier, which means I get to announce matches earlier. Whereas they were just booking shit on the fly, so they couldn't announce the women's tag title match, for example, until 8 days before WrestleMania, because they didn't fucking know it was going to happen until 8 days before WrestleMania. Whereas there's basically 90% of this card I've had penciled in since at least August, some of it since March of last year. So I can start building them as early as I want to. And then get Finn Balor. He's back in his room, the site of those old vignettes he was doing a couple of months ago before he came back. And he's watching back AJ Styles smacking him in the face on Raw last week. And he's holding his jaw. He goes, damn AJ, you still got that swing in you. I was just trying to support you after your loss to John Cena, but clear I got in the way of something you didn't want me to do. And then we hear the voices again going, you know what you have to do, right? You're a coward if you don't, Finn. This is the second time AJ has disrespected you. The first time, he made you think you were finished, Finn. You had to call upon me to rescue you. Just say the word, Finn, and I'll do it again. And Finn, he's grabbing his head. He goes, no, shut up. But yes, voices, wherever they could be coming from, telling Finn Balor to go and take care of AJ. We then cut backstage to the Bang Bang Gang in their locker room. And Jay White looks confused. He turns to Austin and Colton and he goes, ass boys, I appear to be getting deja vu because last week I went out to that ring in Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, and I called out Cody Rhodes. And I told Cody that he's focusing too hard on business that isn't his own in Seth Rollins and CM Punk, rather than business that he's actually a part of. And he responded by saying that, yes, Jay White, King Switch, I will face you at WrestleMania. And we fly all the way out to Brussels. And he's still getting involved in Cody Rhodes and CM Punk and Seth Rollins' business rather than worrying about me. Now, luckily, Cody, I'm a nice guy. I'm not going to put my hands on you tonight. And quite frankly, the more time you waste with CM Punk, I keep saying Cody, with CM Punk and Seth Rollins, the more distracted you'll be for a nice victory at WrestleMania. But here's the thing, Cody, I'm an honest guy. I want a victory against you at WrestleMania so desperately, yes. But I don't want you to only have 50% of your mind on the king switch. You need to be locked in for this match. Because hell, I know I can beat a 100% on his game Cody Rhodes, but you even let your mind slip for a second, and there won't be a doubt who's walking out of Las Vegas as the winner, and it won't be the American Nightmare like every single other time you've walked down that ramp since you came back 3 years ago. This time, the Blade Runner will have you looking up at the lights, courtesy of the greatest Intercontinental Champion of this generation, the King Switch. Undefeated at WrestleMania, debuted at WrestleMania, yes I did last year, and soon to be Ender and real Nightmare for the American Nightmare. '82. I'll take that for this. It's the evolution of the women's tag team thing. Alexa, Mackie, and Tegan Nox defeat the heel team of Tatum Paxley, Stephanie Stratton, and Jada Parker. When there's some... Tatum Paxley is the one starting to go crazy. She starts a fight with Jada Parker on the outside over something, who knows what. And obviously Jada has a very short fuse as well, so she immediately starts throwing hands of Tatum. And Tiffany watches this, she's like, what the hell's happening? You know, you're supposed to be my tag team partners. Get your eyes on the prize, bitches. She turns around, Alexa drops her with the icebreaker and pins her. So yes, another victory for the babyface team. 78 for Tegan, 67 for Mackie, 81 for Alexa, 49 for Jada, 77 for Tiffany, 71 for Tatum. I believe Tiffany took the pin 2 weeks in a row, but trust me, there's a method to the madness that I can't explain yet. But yes, she's fine, Colton. Don't worry about her. Oh, she's not getting booked like Liv. Let me tell you that. But yes, after the match, Tatum and Jada's fight is still ongoing, and then when Tiffany recovers, she obviously wants to get involved in this shit. So the three heels are brawling around on the outside, and Alexa's just blankly staring in the ring, like staring out at them from in the ring, and Mackie comes in, she runs in, she grabs Alexa's hand, she like raises Alexa's hand, going, "Yeah, we won." And Alexa like snatches her hand away, going, "Get your hands off me." And that infuriates Mackie. She headbutts Alexa, which then kicks off a brawl between those two. Piper and Tegan are just there, watching on. And there's accidentally a bump there. Mackie accidentally bumps into Tegan. Tegan starts getting angry. Piper's like, "No, don't bite." But then Tegan picks up Mackie. She swings at Mackie. And Piper has to get in the ring. She has to pull Tegan off and go, "No, stop it." And then there's some little tension between Tegan and Piper. And Piper goes, "Listen, I don't want to hit you, but if you're going to keep doing this, I'm going to have to." And then that's when Stephanie Vaquer's music hits. And she storms down to the ring. Well, she doesn't. She storms down to ringside, with the belt over her shoulder. She grabs a microphone, and she goes out under the ring. And she pulls out a ladder, and she climbs up a ladder on the outside of the ring, at the bottom of the ramp. And she sits at the top of the ladder. She goes, ladies, you're all fighting for the right to challenge for my championship. The way I see it is, this looks like fun. So I spoke to Bobby Roode. And this year, we're going to have ourselves a Women's Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Ayo. Bang. So there's another match set for WrestleMania. Even ladder matches are getting announced weeks and a month in advance here because, we can't just have these women fight every single week. Well, we could, but yeah. But yes, since our current Intercontinental Champion and beloved professional wrestler John Cena is, let's say, a tiny bit washed, to put it lightly, we're gonna do, and also because I have another match I want him to be in, and I want him to do his own thing, and putting the IC belt in a ladder match wouldn't make sense. So, to keep the tradition alive this year, the Razor Ramon Memorial ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship will be hosted by the women. Stephanie Vaquer enters her first WrestleMania. She enters as champion, and she's defending her championship against Alexa Bliss, Jada Parker, Mackie, Piper Niven, Tatum Paxley, Tegan Nox, and Tiffany Stratton. half of whom are also making their WrestleMania debuts. Like, half of this match, like, I think Alexa, obviously Alexa, and then Tatum and Tegan and Piper have all wrestled. Mackie has been on this roster since 2020, but she's never wrestled on the main show of WrestleMania, so this is her first time doing that too. So, yeah. Like, 50% of this match are making their WrestleMania debuts. That's the sort of opportunities this title has given this division. But yes, there's your lineup for the ladder match. And then get a Gunther video package. And, you know, he's talking about Daniel Bryan. He goes, for over 25 years, the American Dragon Bryan Danielson, or as you WWE fans know him, Daniel Bryan, has been renowned as one of the greatest professional wrestlers in the industry. For a guy like me, growing up in professional wrestling that didn't grow up watching WWE, he was the sort of guy that I wanted to be in the ring with. Until I actually stepped into the ring and I realized I'm better in every single way than Bryan. Daniel Bryan, 11 years ago, had the biggest moment of his career, winning the main event of WrestleMania, winning the WWE Championship and reaching the absolute pinnacle of this great sport. And since then, Daniel Bryan has retired, come back from retirement, and now his body's given in so badly that he's going to have to go back to only doing this once every few months, whereas the Ring General, Gunther, is still here week in and week out, putting on the best damn matches you've ever seen, whether they're appreciated by the audience or not. And at WrestleMania, to many people this is a dream match. Well, for those of you dreaming of Daniel Bryan versus the Ring General Gunther, I have some terrible news for you, because this match is not going to be the match that you think it is. This is going to be a decimation of a crippled up old man. This is going to be the night Daniel Bryan retires, a year before he intended, because he stepped to the Ring General, and after WrestleMania, the Ring General will be back on top here in WWE, and it will not be long after that I regain my WWE Championship and reach the pinnacle of this sport once again. Then see Kathy Kelly with AJ Styles. Kathy says, AJ Styles, last week you had one last match, one last rodeo with one of your greatest rivals of all time, John Cena. You came up short on that night in MSG, but it's what happened after the match that a lot of people have been talking about, AJ. You know, Finn Balor got into the ring with you, and you know, he wanted to shake your hand, and you smacked him in the face. And AJ goes, because I'm not stupid, Kathy. Finn Balor thinks we're all idiots. Finn Balor, since he came back and cost me the WWE Championship and took me out all those months ago, has been running around here pretending that the Demon and Finn Balor are two different people. They're not, Finn. It's you. You can't paint yourself up and hide behind an identity crisis to get away with the acts you've been doing, especially to me. Because I ain't gonna let that slide, Finn. And now I see he's back at his house going through it all again. And he's coming after me. Well, Finn Balor, I'm not a hard guy to find. I'm going to be in Glasgow next week, and I want you to be there too. Not Finn Balor the Demon. You, Finn. Because I want to get to the bottom of this with you and finally put you in your place. No more of this pretending. AJ Styles, Finn Balor, the OG leaders back together for one more night in the ring. And what happens from there, Kathy? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I can promise you it won't be pretty, because I don't know if I can trust myself not to put Finn Balor in the hospital next time I see him. John Cena comes to the ring. Says, Brussels, Belgium, you've been loud tonight. When this European tour was announced for 2025 last year, I knew that I had to be here every single week. Brussels, Glasgow, London. I'm here week in and week out on Monday Night Raw, heading into WrestleMania. And as your Intercontinental Champion, and we are on an entirely new continent right now, it's only fitting that I host an Intercontinental Championship Open Challenge. WrestleMania is just a month away. Come out here and see which one of you in the back wants to try and make a big impact before WrestleMania. Who knows? This could change anyone's life back there. And I'm all about giving. I'm all about giving opportunities and making people's day. So the Open Challenge starts now. You want some? Come get some. Out comes R-Truth. Goes, John Cena, you're back. You're finally back. You know, I've missed you, dog. We've all missed you. You know, John, your retirement tour, when you announced your retirement tour last year, it nearly brought me to tears, man. How could you leave us like that? You know, you're my hero. You're everybody here's hero. You know, seeing my childhood hero retire, it makes me feel old. It makes me feel like I haven't got a lot of time left in my career myself. And with me feeling old, John, I asked myself, what would you do? What would my hero, John Cena, do in the late stage of his career? But why, you said you'd come out here and you'd become the Intercontinental Champion. So, John, I want to become the Intercontinental Champion too. And Cena's like, that's great, Truth. He goes, great. Do you know where Stephanie went? And John Cena looks like confused and goes, Truth, I'm the men's Intercontinental Champion. Stephanie, she's the women's Intercontinental Champion. If you want to wrestle for the Intercontinental Championship, you're going to have to wrestle me, not Stephanie. And Truth goes, but she just came out here with the championship. You're telling me there are 2 Intercontinental Championships and I can't hold either of them? And Cena goes, no, you can hold this one. You just gotta beat me for it. And R-Truth goes, dog, you're John Cena. I can't beat you. Cena wins, LOL, and all that. Cena just laughs and goes, I'll tell you what, Truth. Brussels here seems to like you a lot. I love you a lot. Hell, who doesn't love R-Truth? You come out here by yourself. You haven't got Titus or any of those other guys with you tonight. So, Brussels, what do you say? Do you think R-Truth deserves a shot to become the Intercontinental Champion? Crowd pops. He says, well, Truth, now's your chance to dance with John Cena. And then R-Truth's like, oh my god, John, I don't want to dance with you. I want to wrestle you for the Intercontinental Championships. And he goes, yes, that's what I meant, Truth. You know, get ready. And the bell rings. R-Truth and John Cena in a Raw match. A Raw match between John Cena and R-Truth that is not a pay-per-view World Championship match. Who would have expected that shouldn't be a pay-per-view World Championship match? I don't know. I'm just saying that it's a TV match, and it being a TV match that goes like 6 minutes is perfectly fun, because the R-Truth character obviously has the ties of John Cena, and you want to do some fun segments with him, with John Cena and his retirement tour. But what I'm saying is that I wouldn't run this match on like a pay-per-view, or, you know, if I did like a TV special, let's say, like a Saturday Night's Main Event or some shit, I wouldn't really want to run that as a world title match on there, because R-Truth is, you know, as much as we love him, he's a jobber, and he's a comedy jobber, and we're having a hard time taking John Cena, hypothetically having a hard time taking John Cena seriously in his final run, because he's a goofball heel, and I'd give him some proper opponents to get the best out of him instead of giving him R-Truth, even though it is fun, again, like I said, and you should do some stuff between them, but it really, really, really shouldn't be a World Championship match on pay-per-view. But anyway, John Cena's not the World Champion, so why am I talking about this? Anyway, R-Truth versus John Cena for the Intercontinental Championship in a 6-minute Raw match. Gets a 70. Yeah, sure, bang. It's almost like that's why it shouldn't be a pay-per-view main event. Who knows? But yes, John Cena wins. He makes events number 6 of the Intercontinental Championship. 77 for John Cena and a 51 for R-Truth. And after the match, you know, John Cena grabs the championship and, like, he holds the belt up high And he, like, tosses the championship over his shoulder. He looks up at the WrestleMania sign. And he just throws up 6 fingers. Because, you know, he's made 6 defenses. And we all know what happens if the Intercontinental Champion makes 10 defenses. It then cuts to the Antidote's locker room. And Cora and Roxy walk in with Lyra. And they go, so, you know, Nova left us hanging, but screw Nova, okay? If she wants to do the dance with Charlotte over on SmackDown, let her. Be my guest. More power to her. I hope it all goes great. But we don't need Nova. Say hello to Lyra Valkyria. Now, Lyra, unlike Becky, we'll take great care of you here in the Antidote. We will make sure that you make it to the top of the women's division here on Raw. And then Bronson Steiner's in there. He's like pumping weights in the corner. And Ace Austin and Chris Bay look at him and go, you ready for tonight, big man? He goes, yep. He goes, listen, you know, Punk's not here tonight, so he gave us the orders, me and Chris, to come out with you for this match night against Seth to make sure you get the win over Seth, because, you know, we can't have you losing to Seth Rollins. And then Bronson Steiner just looks at him and goes, Punk said that. And they go, yeah. He goes, well, you can tell Punk I'm going to do this by myself. I don't need you, and I don't need you out there. Because if you two are out there, that's going to invite more of those guys out there. And I've proven time after time again that I can decimate people one-on-one by myself. Go ask Cody Rhodes about that. So, boys, stay in the back. And I'll do this alone tonight. And he walks out, and then Ace Austin and Chris basically look at each other and go, what should we do? Should we listen to him or listen to Punk? And Ace Austin's like, well, it's not Bronson Steiner who promised us to be the future here in WWE now, was it? It wasn't Bronson Steiner who enticed us away from Raven and the Grand Jury now, was it? We then cut to the ring. Big Stoke and the WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill come out. And Stoke says, first of all, Brussels, Belgium, what a lovely city you have around here, you know. I came here so excited to eat some of your chocolate, because I've heard so much great things about it, and I have to honestly say, after eating some, it's ass. It's overrated. That's all your country's got going for it. Yikes. Second of all, I want to give a shout out to my main man, Angelo Dawkins. Big Doc, thank you for making WrestleMania even easier for this bitch right here, Jade Cargill. You see, Jade was already going to dog walk and step all over Bianca, stack her up and pin her to the ground. But now, it's definitely going to happen if Bianca even makes WrestleMania, because, you know, the D'Angelo family, they do know how to make people disappear. But all I'm saying is, you wasted 10 grand, or however much it is, because Jade Cargill would have put that beating on Bianca Belair free of charge. But let's talk about WrestleMania. Let's talk about Bianca Belair, because Bianca Belair will come out here and tell you time after time again that when Jade Cargill, that bitch, signed to WWE, she was immediately compared to Bianca Belair. I don't know why they can't just let two successful, strong black women coexist here in WWE, but hey, wrestling fans are going to be wrestling fans, right? But those comparisons were always off-putting to me, because Jade Cargill is nothing like Bianca Belair. She's better than Bianca Belair. Bianca gets to do all the flashy moves and wow you with her athleticism. Jade Cargill doesn't need to do any of that. She just needs to get in there, kick you in the face, and pin you down. It's led to some success for Jade Cargill so far. When was the last time Bianca Belair was a world champion? What, 2 years ago? Yawn. Some franchise player, some alpha we've got here. So what we're dealing with is an injured former great who hasn't been great in a long time. looking to step to the most dominant, strongest woman in the history of WWE. That's when Rhea Ripley comes out. She goes, Bivens. You're talking a lot about Jade Cargill, and you called her the most dominant woman in the history of WWE, and well, I was gonna let the rest of this slide, but you know that's not true. We've been here before. At WrestleMania last year, I embarrassed Jade. I beat Jade. I was the first person to beat Jade, and I did it in about a minute to become the Willibitty champion. So you're still going to parrot on about Jade being the most dominant woman here in WWE when I've proven it's me. It's mommy. And Bianca, who knows where she's at? Who knows if she's going to be at WrestleMania? And if Bianca Belair is not going to be at WrestleMania, Jade, as the champion, I know this is your first time being the champion, so you might not be quite accustomed to how things work in the big leagues and in the big time just yet. But as a champion, you've got to make your dates, especially a date like WrestleMania. And considering you robbed me out of the Iron Survivor in the first place, if Bianca Belair can't go at WrestleMania, mommy is ready to step in. Beaverton goes, whoa. First of all, you don't do the stepping, okay? Jade Cargill does the stepping. Second of all, you got lucky at WrestleMania last year because of your weird little creepy friend Tatum Paxley, okay? And she's off doing her own thing. She's going to be a champion coming out of WrestleMania, and you ain't. You ain't even going to be at WrestleMania. And third of all, I want you out of this ring because you're stinking up the place. You're stinking up Jade Cargill's aura. And that's when Oro Mensah and Jakara Jackson rush out. And they go, hey. You know, sorry to interrupt, but you're talking a lot of shit about Bianca Belair. And let me tell you, Bianca Belair is just fine. Okay, Bianca is going to be back sooner than you think, and she's going to be at WrestleMania. So, mommy, step out of Bianca's business. And Rhea Ripley just laughs and goes, oh, okay. Well, don't mind me. This is apparently champ business. I guess I'll take my leave, but, isn't there more people you've got to worry about? Then Oro Mensah is jumped by Angelo Dawkins. Jade Cargill brings the boots to Jakara Jackson. And we get a mixed tag team match coming up next. It's Jade and Angelo Dawkins against Jakara and Oro. Gets a 79. I'll fucking take that. Huge. Yeah. And Jade and Angelo Dawkins do win, of course. Jade Cargill pinning Jakara Jackson in 10 minutes and 4. 70 for Angelo, 74 for Jade, 56 for Jakara, and a 77 for Big Oro. Oro leading the line out of all these men. Huge. Oh, men and women. After the match, though, Oro and Jakara struggling, and Jade and Angelo Dawkins continue the attack on Oro Mensah and Jakara Jackson. And that's when Montez Ford rushes out. He storms out from the back of a steel chair. Actually, no, he's got a crowbar. He's acquired one of the D'Angelo family's crowbars. And he rushes to the ring. He chases Angelo Dawkins through the crowd. Dawkins, runs away from Jakara and Oro and Montez Ford through the crowd. And they run off, leaving Jade Cargill to celebrate in the ring alone. She turns around, eats a headbutt from Rhea Ripley. And Rhea drops her with a riptide. She picks up the championship, places it on Jade Cargill and goes, there you go, champ, you wouldn't want to lose this. And then walks out. So yeah, a lot of tensions between a lot of different people here. The ability to mix feuds together is fun. I don't advocate for always having real life couples pair up together on screen. But the good part of having Bianca and Montez Ford in the same group is that I can, cross feuds like this and it just happens seamlessly. But yes, Rhea Ripley leaves Jade Cargill laying. We then cut back to Becky's locker room. And there's like an eerie emptiness, you know. Normally the shot when we go to the Becky Stardust locker room is we see Bird Girl and we see Becky, then we pan across and we see Kelly and Billy. But we start on the two empty chairs, you know, the one Becky's not in because she's not here tonight, and the one Bird Girl has abandoned. And we just see Kelly and Billy sort of just staring at the empty seats. And Billy just like, are you sure that you want to do this? Because I understand if you don't. I understand if you decide that enough is enough. And Kelly goes, no. I feel disrespected and I feel betrayed by my best friend. For her to just use me like that as a pawn in her game, that showed who she really is. So even though I may not have liked Becky to start with, this is the side of the war I'm on. And she turns to the camera, she goes, Lyra, nice to know all of this meant nothing to you. You've just unleashed a rage inside me, let alone Becky. Next week, in Glasgow, I challenge you to a match on Raw. LA Knight then comes to the ring. He goes, let me talk to you. Brussels, Belgium. I told you all last week that the megastar LA Knight is going to be here. And I told you last week that Logan Paul, the self-proclaimed megastar, isn't going to be here. And what do you know? He's apparently too busy. You know, big man of a big reality show is too busy to come to work. Well, that's cool. Because I don't care about a reality show. I don't care about anything other than being here in Brussels. Being here on the road to WrestleMania and doing LA Knight things. So anyone back there who wants to has the tingle in their loins to come out here and go toe-to-toe with a megastar. Come out here and make my night. Yeah. That's when LA Extreme's music hits and they come out. You know, fresh from being the Trios champions, I guess it's time for them to come back to Raw. And Jorge Santana has the mic. And he goes, LA Knight, you love to run your mouth. We have been doing our damn thing for the last 6 months. And on Friday night, our dominant reign as champions finally came to an end. Which means it's time for us to make an impact once again on Raw. And I can't think of a better place to start than by beating LA Knight's loudmouth ass and shutting you up. And then Knight goes, come on, kid. Let's see what you got. So yeah, Jorge Santana against LA Knight. Gets a 90. There we fucking go. So yeah, LA Knight does pin him with the bottom rung in 10 minutes and 20. But with a 90 rated match like that, you know, it's just a nice welcome back to Raw, basically. So yeah. 90 for LA Knight, 67 for Jorge Santana. I actually do imagine after the match, LA Knight gives a nod of respect to Santana. And as he's celebrating, we hear Logan Paul's voice on the Tyrantron and sarcastic clapping. He goes, bravo! Bravo, LA Knight. Look at you showing up in Brussels, Belgium. Well, here's the thing. I'm too busy. You wouldn't get it because you're a wrestler and it took you 25 years to actually make a damn in this industry. Whereas I did it in, 6 months? Because I'm just that damn good. You want to talk about the Kavorka and the aura that LA Knight has. It's nothing compared to me. Businessman, YouTube megastar, wrestling megastar, everything you can think, boxing champion, I've done it all. #1 most listened to podcast in America. And some guy who has won a couple of world championships and before that was appearing in Triple H's workout DVDs and dodgy ass commercials, wants to call me out and think he's a megastar. Yes, LA Knight, you can show up to work in Brussels because nobody wants to book you. But I'm busy doing everything else, getting these big deals for my reality show, raising a child, business is booming, podcasts booming. But luckily for you, LA, my schedule does clear up next Monday. And I will be in Glasgow next Monday. And if you're lucky and you run your mouth again, I'ma hit you with another one of those pulverizers, okay? Because that's my hot new finishing move, LA Knight. And you take it very well. I can't wait to beat you with it. So yeah, Logan Paul, he's going to be on Raw next week. We then cut to the J-Flow locker room. And Mackie, she's all excited. She goes, yeah, WrestleMania. WrestleMania. I'm working on WrestleMania song. First time ever I compete at WrestleMania. And they're all happy. And then AJ and Bayley sort of walk past. Okay, we don't mean to interrupt, girls. You know, I'm happy for you. You know, Mackie, I'm glad you made it to WrestleMania. You know, the Intercontinental climax didn't really go either of our way after you tried your best to do it for me, and I felt like I let you down and let myself down. Mackie goes, it's okay, I've forgotten about that. Bayley goes, it's fine, yeah, sure. But, you know, me and AJ, we're looking to become tag team here in WWE. Maybe become the tag team champions. You know, I've been tag team champions before, so have you. And Mackie goes, yeah, you beat us for them. You cheated. Bayley goes, yes, I remember. I'm sorry about that too. But, how about up next, we test ourselves as a team once again, and two of you girls can come out there and be our opponents. So yeah, another tag team match for Bayley and AJ. Last week they beat the Page Sisters. This week it's Tam and Mizuki, I believe, of J-Flow. Gets a 79. AJ pins Mizuki with a Shining Wizard in 10:55. 76 for Bayley, 81 for AJ, 72 for Tam, 69 for Mizuki. So yeah, another tag team victory for AJ Lee and Bayley, but they don't celebrate for too long because we then cut to Roxy and Cora watching in the interview area. And Kathy Kelly goes, another impressive win by AJ and Bayley, two women you know so much about. Roxy goes, look at we've made it. We're now the champions that are being chased by our heroes. Okay, Lyra just stabbed her hero in the back, and she's the one who's going to beat her to make a name for herself. But now our heroes are looking to make a name off our back. That's how successful we are, Kathy. But I'd like to see them try and make a name off our back, because we just got word from Bobby Roode and Brandy Rhodes that our WrestleMania opponents will be decided next week in Glasgow. Because that episode of Heat is going to feature a show-long tag team gauntlet with a bunch of women's tag teams who want a shot at our gold. So good job, Bayley and AJ. You've won 2 tag team matches. You're going to have to win a hell of a lot more than that to get to WrestleMania. So yeah, next week, Raw makes its next stop on its European tour as we head to Glasgow, and it's now been announced that John Cena will be on the show. He will be defending the Intercontinental Championship in the latest Open Challenge. Tonight he beat R-Truth, he beat AJ last week. Who will it be next week in Glasgow? Plus, following their fight earlier on tonight, Jade Cargill, the WWE Women's Champion, has challenged Rhea Ripley to a non-title match on Raw next week in Glasgow. Let's see what happens there. And Montez Ford and Tony D'Angelo will go one-on-one. You know, Tony D took that payment from Dawkins for his family to take out Bianca Belair, and Montez Ford looking to avenge his wife next week. And a couple of announced segments for the show. The first, we'll see AJ Styles and Finn Balor face to face in the ring, mic to mic in Glasgow. Plus, Logan Paul, hold your applause, will be in Glasgow next week, as well as the WWE Champion CM Punk. He returns to Raw in Glasgow next week. All that and more. Plus, with WrestleMania on the horizon, we now have 2 new championship matches from the Raw side announced for WrestleMania. The first is a 3-way tag team match for the World Tag Team Championships, as Fraxium and Path of the Dragon both challenge the Patriarchy's Dominic Mysterio and Lexis King. And the Razor Ramon Memorial Ladder match is back, but this year the women will get their turn as Stephanie Vaquer, the Women's Intercontinental Champion, defends her championship against 7 challengers. Those being Alexa Bliss, Tiffany Stratton, Tatum Paxley, Tegan Knox, Piper Niven, Jada Parker, and Mackie. 80 rated main event, really? Oh, the creative finish was a failure. Okay. Nice to know I spent all that creative energy trying to get a safe bet creative finish and it's still fucked up. So I guess the stomp looked kind of shit, is what I'm getting from that. But yeah, Seth Rollins does defeat Bronson Steiner. The finish, Bronson Steiner is, he's got Seth beat, basically. He hits a spear on Seth, and Seth gets his foot on the ropes. And then, Seth rolls to the outside of the ring. That's when Ace Austin and Chris Bay, behind Bronson Steiner's back, the referee's, checking on Bronson Steiner, and they jump Seth, and they start attacking him. And Bronson Steiner sees, he goes, "Hey, I said no, I said go away." And then, out from the crowd, rush Damian Priest and Buddy Murphy, who fight off Chris Bay and Ace Austin. And Cody Rhodes also rushes out. He delivers a cheap shot to Bronson Steiner. And Seth Rollins hits a super stomp off the top rope to put the big man down. 87 for Seth, 85 for Bronson. Yeah, that creative finish failing really fucked me in the ass. But, Bronson Steiner rolls to the outside of the ring. He just glares and shakes his head at Chris Bay and Ace Austin. And Cody Rhodes is standing in the corner. Buddy Murphy and Damian Priest stood tall in the middle of the ring. And Seth Rollins sort of looks at him in the corner. And they look back at Seth. And Seth wanders up to Priest and Buddy. And Seth puts his hand out in the middle. And puts his hand over his heart. And Buddy Murphy puts his hand on top of Seth's, and Priest puts his hand on top of Seth's. And they put their hands over their heart as well. Cody Rhodes in the corner, smiling along, nodding his head. As, for the greater good, never a more apt phrase to use, these 3 very familiar gentlemen have reunited. 82 rated show. Sure. It was better than the game thought it was, because the game thought the main event was shit, even though it clearly wasn't. But yeah, what matters more is what you thought of the show. Do let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you on the other side for Heat. Heat kicks off with Chelsea Green in the ring. And she's over the moon. She's wearing her J-Flow merch. She's wearing her Mackie Mania shirt. She's got it made, in the hours since the ladder match was announced. She goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you all saw the big news. Obviously, as a part of the ECW roster, me and my girls, we've been separated. But I'm here in spirit. And our girl Mackie is competing at WrestleMania on the main card for the very first time in her career. She got the chance to win her first singles championship here in WWE. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to rise and celebrate the impending era of Mackie, the era of J-Flow, my girls who I hated to start with, but I now love. And me and my girls, I'm going to be in their corner. I'm going to help Mackie, and we're going to win the Women's Intercontinental Championship together." That's when Zoe Stark comes out. She goes, "Chelsea, you're not embarrassed by this?" It was Chelsea Green, a great competitor in your own right, reduced to a cheerleader for a phony J-pop band. You don't feel a little bit embarrassed. You're on ECW, the spiritual home of Extreme, and this is what you're doing. You are extreme, extremely annoying, and you're the sort of person that needs to be cleansed, because you are giving a bad rep to women busting their ass to do this, and do this well, because you're just happy to sit around and be a cheerleader. So, how about right now, you and I get into this ring, and I'll give you something to cry about. And then our opening match is Zoe Stark against Chelsea Green. Gives a 63. Sure, we'll take that. Zoe does pin Chelsea with the Z360 in 7:52. 61 for Zoe, 59 for Chelsea. Then after the match, Zoe gets back on and goes, see, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. The last real women's wrestler is me. Okay, none of this Chelsea Green cheerleader BS, none of these pretty photo shoots, none of these gears that are revealing and, you know, getting eyes on the women for all the wrong reasons. It's all about me and my path to becoming the top women's star in. And then from out of frame, Zoe Stark is dropped by a Sol Snatcher from out of frame by Sol Ruca. And Sol, she tries to get her hands on Zoe. Zoe rushes away. And yeah, Sol Ruca dropping her former tag team partner with her finisher. They get a 70 rated match. Liv Morgan versus Shotzi Blackheart. Liv picks up the win with the Oblivion in 8:23, 73 for Liv, 66 for Shotzi. So yeah, just a nice little mid-card match. Liv and Sonya, I'm sure, will be a part of the gauntlet next week. And yeah, as for Shotzi, she's been going through it recently. She got fucking cursed out like a fucking storm by Candice LeRae on Friday. And yeah, she seems a little bit off her game tonight. Like, as she's wrestling, she's like, you can tell she's sort of like, well, like she's been gotten to. Another 70 rated mid-card match. Mina Shirakawa defeats Xia Li. I would just give Mina a win. So yeah, she wins with 450. Mina gets a 74 and a 67 for Xia Li. We then cut backstage where we have Alicia Sanford catching up with Shotzi Blackheart. She goes, Shotzi, disappointing loss tonight. You know, after a loss on SmackDown, you know, what's next for the Blackheart? And she goes, I don't know, Alicia. You know, I tried to put on this brave face and I call myself this ballsy badass and, you know, have no carefree and, you know, don't let anything get to me, but all I was doing was trying to be helpful. I was trying to be a friend, and it ended up me getting in a bunch of crap that I didn't really need to be a part of. And it's Candice, she said a lot of hurtful things, and I'm starting to realize that maybe some of them were true. Maybe nobody does care about what I say or what I do or what I think. Maybe I do have nobody. All my old tag team partners, they have moved on, but I'm still clinging to the past. I do have nobody, Alicia. Candice was right about that. It's just, I don't know whether I should take some time to myself or what's next, but I'm not feeling so ballsy right now. And she walks away. Our main event is a 4-way tag team match. A preview for next week's gauntlet. I guess 4 of these will be in the gauntlet. It's Fatal Influences, Fran Henley and Zelina Vega against the Paige Sisters, against the Fierce and the Fabulous, against the Unholy Union. And it's Kenzie and Kylie who pick up the win. You know, they lost last week, and I really want to start establishing them as like a solid hand in the division over, you know, I know this is where you think the WrestleMania match is going and may or may not be going, hypocritical to say, but start actually building up women's tag teams rather than just sticking to main eventers in the tag division. But yeah, they pick up the upset win. They pin Iona Webb. 68 for Iona Webb, 96 for Alba Fire. I know that's the chemistry boosting, so like taking her out of the tag team would lower her ratings, but surely we've got to give it a go after. Never mind. 67 for Carmella, 82 for Shayna, 55 for Kylie, 62 for Kenzie, 66 for Zelina, and 67 for Fallon. So yeah, it is the page. A big night for Club Venus. You know, they appeared back on Raw for the first time in a while last week with a loss, but Mina and the Paige Sisters win tonight. So, yeah. That's some nice momentum for them. That ends Heat, gets a 72. And what matters more, there's more U4 for the show, mainly of Raw. And I'll see you next time for ECW as they start the European tour. They'll be in Lyon, France, with a television championship match, Kevin Owens against Adam Cole, a women's tag match as Florence and Kelsey Cook team up against Ruby Riott and Blair Davenport, and a whole lot more. A women's four-way to determine the next challenger for the $1 million title. Yeah, see you then.